I hope that after the ceasefire will be achieved, the peace process will be renewed, will be resumed very soon.
All right, Ambassador Yacobi, you are concluding your tenure as Israel's ambassador to the UN in a couple of weeks, and you'll be going back to private business. It's kind of tough for you, I'm sure, on how to end your term here. A good friend of yours, Yitzhak Rabin, assassinated in the last few months, and some other Middle East battles you've fought. Thank you very much for your frequent appearances here on Diplomatic License, and good luck.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to go back home.
UN Secretary General Boutros Ghali said he was shocked by the Israeli artillery attack. He deplored it. The day before, the Secretary General had discussed Israel, Lebanon, and the Palestinians with leaders of major Jewish organizations in the United States.
Wherever your voyage takes you, stay in touch with world news. These fine cruise ships feature CNN International. For more information about all our cruise ship partners, turn to page 406 on CNN Text, where available.
Recently, science and technology focused on some eye-popping video gadgets.
It's not exactly no-hands videography, but Canon says it's the next best thing.
You don't have to use your fingers so much for the controls, you can use your eyes.
When it comes to controlling the new ES5000 camera, the eyes have it.
It is an eye-controlled camera. It really revolutionizes the mode or method of camcorder operation. It allows you autofocus. As you look, the camera follows the subject, so it maintains constant focus.
Eye control can also come in handy when the user wants to try some special effects, such as rack focus. And the ES5000 has a number of other optical tricks, all of them controlled by eye power.
When you're trying to find the controls on a camera that small, sometimes it's hard to find them. This way, if you just use your eye, you can find the control very easily.
Science and technology, weekends on CNN International.
Welcome back. As usual, with a big story like the Middle East, there are some angles left to explore. For that, we bring in some of our regulars, Afsaneh Basarpour of the French newspaper Le Monde, and James Bone of the Times of London. And a special guest, the new voice of the United Nations, Silvana Foa, spokeswoman for the Secretary General. Silvana, let me ask you, the Israelis say it was all a mistake. What's your sense?
I think it was a mistake. But that's no excuse. You can't excuse what happened in that headquarters. When you're playing with big guns, you got to take responsibility for what those guns can do.
James?
Silvana, what about this story about the Hezbollah firing from near? Why didn't the UN stop Hezbollah firing from near?
The UN has been trying all week to stop Hezbollah from doing it, from shielding behind civilians, because they figure the Israelis wouldn't strike back if they hid right behind our civilian compounds. In fact, we've had 3 UN peacekeepers wounded by Hezbollah guerrillas trying to stop them from firing rockets.
Silvana, you have somebody in the region now going to investigate what actually happened. Now, what will happen to this investigation if one party is found to be guilty, or both, as the case may be? What can the UN do?
Well, the purpose of the investigation, besides getting all the facts out into the open once and for all, is really to make sure that this never happens again. We want to make sure that everybody understands what's there, you know, that they can't just claim they have precision weapons that can pinpoint any target, that they have to keep the guns away from civilian compounds.
Silvana, this has been happening, though, for years and years and years. I mean, UNIFIL, the UN force there, went in 1978. I think since then, 203 UN peacekeepers have been killed. Is it maybe time that they should just come out?
No. But this is a different situation now. We have over 5,000 civilians who have taken refuge in our compounds. Why are they there? Why didn't they flee further north? You know why? Because they don't have any money. Because they don't have any relatives up in the north. They don't have any homes to go to. So they didn't know where to go. So what they do, they said, oh, those nice guys over at the UN, we'll go, they'll take care of us. And we have been taking care of them.
Silvana, one of the things I found interesting in this week of debate at the UN on the Middle East was that the Arab countries did not condemn, never in their speeches did they condemn what Hezbollah is doing. And the Americans never condemn what Israel is doing. And yet you have condemned both sides. Now, where does this, how can you do this as a spokeswoman at the UN? Are you getting into trouble?
No, I'm not getting into trouble, though I don't think I'm too popular anywhere right now. But, you know, I think that's the job of the United Nations, to call a spade and say, hey, you're both being bad. This is unacceptable behavior in a civilized world. These are civilians. These are women and children. And Hezbollah, by hiding behind them to launch their attacks, I think, is guilty too.
Now,
but what happened with Israel is totally inexcusable.
But who do you speak for now? I mean, you are a new spokeswoman replacing Joe Sills, who we can say at least had a bit more low-key profile. Who do you speak for?
Well, I speak for the United Nations, I hope. I'm the spokesman of the Secretary General, and I know the Secretary General has very strong feelings about the massacre of civilians, or using civilians as human shields.
But why doesn't he come out? I always keep pressing on this. Why doesn't he come out right after this and give his views publicly?
Listen, the Secretary General had a statement out before anybody else in the world. That's what he pays me for. I'm the one that's supposed to do the talking. He's in there behind locked doors with hundreds of people around him trying to do some quiet diplomacy. He's got better things to do than stand in front of the cameras. That's what he says. Hey, that's your job. You go do it.
Silvana, Boutros-Ghali, of course, is a former Egyptian Foreign Office minister, one of the architects of the Camp David peace accords between Israel and Egypt. But the UN is always consigned to the role of a bit player in the Middle East. Is he frustrated that he doesn't really have a strong role in this kind of conflict?
Well, I think that the role of the UN, again, has been the role of quiet diplomacy. The UN can't go around, you know, pounding its drum and saying, oh, we did it, we were successful, we were the one that made this negotiation come out right. If some states want to take credit for what goes on, it's fine with us, as long as this peace negotiations go on and the peace process is implemented. We don't care who gets the credit.
But is the UN playing some kind of secret negotiating role to get ceasefire at the moment?
The UN is always there. The UN is the forum that countries use to make these kind of negotiations, and the facilities of the UN and the senior diplomats of the UN are always at the disposal of people who want to further peace.
What is the image? Go ahead, Afsani, final question.
I just wanted to know, Silvana, you worked for a very strong character, a highly respected woman in Mrs. Ogata of the refugee agency, the High Commissioner for the Refugees, and now you work for Boutros-Ghali. How are they different?
I think Boutros-Ghali has a little bit more mischievousness in him than Mrs. Ogata. She's a lot more serious. She also had a bigger problem with the refugee issue, whereas he has to look at the whole world every single day, and there's just about everything on his shoulders, whereas her style was focused on one issue. But in many ways, they're a lot alike. They're both intellectuals, and they're both wonderful.
And some say she might one day replace him, but who knows, even though she denies it. Silvana Foa, spokeswoman for the UN, and Boutros-Ghali, thanks for joining us on Diplomatic License.
Thank you.
The political battles are still being fought in the Middle East, but the recent peace overtures produces some interesting diplomatic moments. This one occurred at the UN a few days before the artillery attack. Palestine's observer blasts Israel and then runs right into Israel's ambassador.
The point is the outrageous situation created by the Israeli policies and actions against the Palestinian people in the Palestinian territory.
CNN International answers complex questions about our world. Science and Technology Week explores the mysteries of science, from research in space to intriguing discoveries on Earth. Then the CNN Computer Connection gets user-friendly with the latest trends in cyberspace, from ingenious new software to the net. And on Future Watch, learn how scientific research is trying to solve today's most pressing issues. Explore the worlds of science and technology. Weekends on CNN International.
You've come to rely on World News during the week for the latest news, business, weather and sports.
Now stay informed all weekend long as World News expands to Saturdays and Sundays.
World News throughout the weekend on CNN International.
If you watch Diplomatic License, you know we have given you our fair share of diplomatic leaks. For the United Nations and its spokeswoman, the more serious problem is how to plug a leak of a different kind.
The latest on the General Assembly leak is that it is still leaking. In fact, I was asked not to share this with you, but I will. It seems to be leaking over France. There is no political significance to the fact that this is leaking buckets over France. However, anyway, don't tell anybody I told you.
All right, so let's quickly look at other UN-related issues. I guess first, though, Afsane, does this mean that a lot of the French are drips? Is this true?
Actually, I was going to say I wish France would do some leaking of its own. Ever since Ambassador Merrimae has left, France hasn't been leaking much.
All right, well, let's talk about some other stories. Iraq, it looks like there may be some deal between Iraq and the United Nations on food for oil. Is this really going to happen?
It would seem so. I mean, for the first time, it seems that the deal might actually go through, and it might go through at the beginning of the week, perhaps Tuesday, as early as Tuesday, because then Secretary General will leave the country, and both sides absolutely want the Secretary General to be here. And the remaining problem, apparently only 2 parentheses, still has to do with distribution of food in Kurdistan.
What we're expecting, Richard, actually, they're negotiating a 15-point plan which has 2 annexes, and the 2 annexes, one of them deals with the Turkish pipeline that will carry most of the oil out of Iraq for export, and the other part, which is where Afsane say there are these problems, deals with the distribution of the food bought with the oil proceeds in the northern Kurdish-controlled provinces.
All right, and also Iraq will still be under economic sanctions no matter what happens with this deal. Speaking of sanctions, Afsane, the Security Council, after its Lebanon meeting at around midnight New York time, had a simple statement about Libya. What was that all about?
Well, it was Libya is under sanctions, as you know, and they did this once before. This is the second time that they're doing it. They used their commercial flights to take some people, some pilgrims, to Hajj, to the Mecca, and this was condemned by the Security Council. But Libya has other problems with the United States, and this might, we're building a chemical weapons plant. This might show up in the Security Council also.
And interestingly, Richard, the Saudi Arabians let the plane go back to Libya, which they shouldn't have done, and the Americans are going to, I think, protest privately to the Saudis about that.
And Colonel Gaddafi says he is going to violate the UN Council edicts again. He's going to continue to fly if possible. We're going to have to leave it there. Our show is grounded for now. James Bone of the Times of London, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Afsane Basirpour of Le Monde, thank you. And that is Diplomatic License for the week. I'm Richard Roth in New York. Thanks for watching.
Fairly active weather pattern across most of Asia. A couple of fronts to talk about. Let's take a look at the forecast map right behind me. A cold front through eastern Russia into eastern China, northeastern China. Just north of Mongolia, you'll see some rain showers associated with that and some snow in front of it and windy conditions. Japan, a trough of low pressure, some snow towards northern Japan. But high pressure is dominating a good section of Mongolia to central China. Dry all the way down to mostly India. Southeast Asia, some showers are in the forecast. New Delhi looking at 35 Celsius, a thunder shower. Beijing, 19 Celsius and sunshine. Seoul looking at partly cloudy skies and 17 Celsius. Tokyo, mostly cloudy and 13 Celsius. Hong Kong's 25 Celsius. Bangkok, 39 Celsius and a thunder showers in the forecast. An area of low pressure towards the South Island will bring rain showers into the South Island. A trough of low pressure to the North Island, New Zealand. Rain showers as well there. It's going to be a wet day for New Zealand, at least during the forecast period. A cold front through southeastern Australia will bring some showers and windy conditions here, but most of Australia is dry. Looking at the forecast now, it looks just like this. Perth, partly cloudy skies and looking at 24 Celsius. Darwin, 32 Celsius and sunshine. Over on the eastern coast of Australia, Brisbane, 27 Celsius. Sydney, 24 Celsius. Melbourne, looking at some rain. Adelaide, rain. As I said, in New Zealand, it's going to be wet. Auckland and Christchurch has some precipitation in the forecast. On to South America, Chile and Argentina. A front brings rain showers through that section of the continent. The Amazon River Basin during Sunday morning, that will be relatively quiet, but as you know, as the day progresses, as it heats up, we'll see some thunder showers through that section of the continent. North America, Pacific Northwest, all the way down to Northern California, we'll see some rain. Through the Four Corners, parts of Colorado, we'll see some showers and maybe a mixture of snow there. Into the southeast, this is where the main story is. It has been for the last day or so. Rain showers all the way from the Tennessee Valley towards the Ohio Valley, maybe even into the northeast. New York City looking at partly cloudy skies or mostly cloudy skies and maybe a thunder shower. Let's look at the world's weather for this hour.
Are aches and pains slowing you down? How would you like to have a team of masseuses relaxing every muscle in your body? Then try Bodysage, the incredible new full-body massager that relieves tired, aching muscles in just minutes. Look, ordinary massagers only touch one area at a time, but Bodysage has 5 strategically placed motors that sends penetrating waves of relief to every muscle. Your neck and shoulders, lower back, hips, thighs, and calves. Bodysage's convenient carrying strap lets you use it anywhere, anytime. Turn your ordinary chair, your bed, the floor into your personal massage center in seconds. You can enjoy the ultimate full-body massage with Bodysage. Don't suffer any longer. Enjoy the most heavenly massage experience of your life every day. Call now.
Now available around the world from Interwood. To order and for information on how to pay in your own currency, call the local number on your screen now. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Don't delay. Call now.
This is CNN International.
The Diaspora Museum is proud to be associated with survivors of the Shoah Visual History Foundation's first documentary, Survivors of the Holocaust, and with Steven Spielberg, a recipient of the museum's Medal of Honor.